My name is Rémy.
How do you want to?
My name is Rémy. I'm French. My mother comes from Austria, from Vienna.
Yeah, so we are relatives somehow.
Yeah. And I'm a French professor. I teach French here in Taiwan.
Yeah. Okay. And as far as I know, you also traveled or lived in several countries in Asia, right?
Yeah, it's a long story, but I started like with philosophy. I studied philosophy a few years.
Yes.
And then I started studying French as a foreign language.
Okay.
And when you teach French as a foreign language, it's easier to find a job abroad than in your own country. That's kind of the funny thing,
It's the same with German, not necessarily, but I really know what you mean. Like language teaching is just in many ways a very easy entry card to another country. Yeah.
So for me, it's easy to find jobs abroad.
Yeah.
But like to find a good job in France is really not easy.
Mm-hmm. Just a question: have you ever thought about searching for a job in France?
Yeah, of course. I started teaching French abroad in Malaysia.
Okay. Yeah.
After I moved to Japan, and then I went back to France because Japan is expensive and I didn't have money, So after 1 year in Japan, I was very happy there. I have like a very, very nice girlfriend, but I didn't have money. And after 1 year, I'm sorry, And I thought I had to go back to France. And when I went back to France, then I decided to do my PhD, to write a PhD. So I stayed in France for 3 years.
Yeah.
I was doing small jobs, and after I had a part-time job at university, and also I could write the PhD thesis thingy.
Okay.
And I tried to find a job as a professor in France, but it's super hard because to find a professor's position in a university, you need to know people. You need to work in this university or to be in this university since a few years.
Yeah.
When you work in Taiwan, in Japan, in Malaysia, nobody knows you there.
I know, and that's...
You don't exist for them.
Yes.
You just arrive and you say, I want to have a professor's position, which is a good position. And you say, no, we don't know you. It doesn't work like this.
Yeah.
So it's not easy. It's not easy to
Okay. I thought about, the topic, writing your doctoral thesis, your PhD. I thought about this a lot of times because I studied till the master's degree, so I'm a master's degree. And what can you, I don't know, I'm sure many people are just thinking about, should I write a doctoral thesis or not? And this just a question, when do you think one is ready or in the right, attitude to write something like this, because it's very hard, it takes a lot of time.
So writing a PhD thesis is difficult.
Yeah.
It's like one of the things that are very difficult and that we can do in our lives.
Yeah.
So for difficult things, we're never ready. Basically, we're never
ready. Really?
Yeah,
okay.
We're never ready. I think so.
Okay, that's a very interesting question.
We're never ready. I think for it's like I don't know. The other day I was talking with my friend who has like 3 kids, and he said also for having kids we're never ready. Saying like I think if we think too much we never do things, And it's the same for the PhD. So me, of course, I studied philosophy for 5 years. After I quit university, I did sailing for 1 year, but it was like also learning because I became a sailing instructor.
Okay, wow, so you are a sailing teacher.
I'm also a sailing teacher,
wow.
Not always teaching jobs, like I wish I could be something else like a teacher, at least once, So after philosophy teacher, after sailing teacher.
Construction work maybe.
So I did sailing for 1 year.
Okay.
And when you're a sailing instructor, you have like many steps, many certificates, many
Yes.
diploma, improve. And at the end, like it was so hard. We were doing that during the winter, with the stormy weather, with the snow, with everything. Like,
in France or where?
Yeah, in France,
Okay.
in Bretagne, in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
In the winter, like, it's so cold.
Yeah.
And I thought it's really fun, but maybe when I'm old, I don't want to do this.
Yes.
So I went back to university, and I didn't know what to study because I'm curious and I like almost everything. So I could study like languages or history or philosophy or sociology or literature. I don't know. But my friends told me, Rémy, you like to travel? You should do this, French as a foreign language. You will travel a lot. You will go to foreign countries and you will find jobs there.
Yeah.
So I did French as a foreign language. And I did the master's degree in 2 years because I didn't have to start everything from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, one of my professors was more interesting than others. And I had good score with him and everything. And when I finished my master's degree, I really, really didn't want to continue university.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I stopped philosophy and when I did sailing, I say to myself that's the last time I go in university. I'm tired of,
I was saying the same to myself when I was finished with the master's exam.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for me, it was clear that university is over. But finally, I went back to university and I thought, okay, only 2 years is short. And when I finished the master's degree, my professor talked to me and said, Rémy, I remember your dissertation was good, was interesting. You should make a PhD.
Okay.
Because with only a master's degree, you will not have a good job. And what you're writing is interesting. You should continue. You should do a PhD. And I told him, no way. No way, you will never convince me.
Wow.
And then he told me, but he insisted a little bit, and he told me, Rémy, just, like to register at university is free, almost free in France.
Yeah.
It's nothing. You get money because you get like social insurance, like medical insurance. You can go to university restaurant, which is almost free, and you have
lots of benefits,
more benefits than what you pay, which is completely different in Asia. But
yes.
France is like this.
Yeah.
So he told me, Rémy, you don't want to do a PhD, okay, but just register for the PhD.
Mm-hmm.
Like you go to university, you say you want to do a PhD, you just sign it, just do this.
Yes. No.
Because when you write a PhD, it takes a few years, and at the end you have to do the defense.
Okay.
But if you sign too late, you can't do the defense. You need some.
Really?
So
okay.
Minimum is 3 years.
Yeah.
But in fact, it's 4.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you do your PhD in 3 years, maybe they will tell you that was too rush.
Mm-hmm.
If your dissertation is not perfect, maybe they can use this against you.
Mm-hmm.
So minimum is 4 years anyway.
Okay.
He told me just to register, and I did it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a PhD student.
Yeah.
Because I was a short time in France, then I went to Japan. And when I was living in Japan, working a bit and just enjoying my life, honestly, I forgot that I was a PhD student.
Okay.
So during 1 year, I did nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And it's really hard to write a PhD when you're abroad. To meet people, to have advice, to find the books.
It's almost contradictory.
Even in your country it's hard, but abroad is almost impossible.
Yeah.
Anyway, after 1 year in Japan, I went back to France. And then, I don't know, somehow, suddenly I remember that I was a PhD student. And already 1 year was gone and I didn't do anything. And finally, I started reading a little bit, then writing a little bit, in the beginning very slowly.
Yeah.
And like most of the PhD students, after 2 years, I had like a little bit this panic feeling, like, okay, I will spend like 10 or 15 years, like, oh my, it's very stressful,
Yeah.
Because it takes a long time, and sometimes it's improving very slowly. And
I have to tell you something very interesting about this. I had a dream for many years, like a nightmare. And it's about when I was writing a master thesis, and also when I was doing the school final exam at 18 years, or when you're 17, 18 years old. And I remember that like almost every day in the last months of my master thesis, in the preparation of the exam for my master's degree, I was dreaming, because my fear subject in school was mathematics, and I always dreamt, it's like what every day that's the same nightmare, that I still didn't finish the math exam, and I have to, and it was a torture. It was unbelievable. Yeah. Like every time the night I was, oh no, I'm 18 years old again. Oh no, still the exam, still not done. And it was like this feeling all the time, and it was so funny. The day I finished my university master's degree, it just stopped. It just stopped, like from one day to another. It just was gone.
You don't have this nightmare anymore.
Yes, yeah. It was so torturing. Whoa.
But the problem with the PhD is, for example, when I was a philosophy student, I always have been like had a bad organization. I always did the things at the last moment, you know.
Yeah,
most of the time.
Like
when there is a deadline, suddenly I start doing
energy efficient. It's not best student. It's energy efficient because you just
laziness, I don't know.
use the least amount of energy for something you have to do. So I really know what you mean.
But when I was a philosophy student, for example, the teacher say, okay, you have to write a dissertation, a few pages about this subject, and you have to do it for like in 3 weeks.
Okay.
And for 3 weeks I do nothing, and just the day before, like I start to feel the stress and everything.
Yeah.
And then during the night I write it, and it's kind of okay. It's fine. But so this is what I did usually when I was a student or at school. But the problem is with a PhD you can't do this. You can do it in one night, so it's more stressful. You have to. It's harder.
Yeah.
Like I think until the master's degree, I could do everything like this. Like at the end, working a little bit, and sometimes you're very late and you spend one night working on something, and then it's done and you can rest a little bit. But for the PhD, it was the first time I had to organize my work differently.
Okay.
You can't do it in one night, you know.
Yeah.
At least it takes a few months, you know, like to write 400 pages or something.
I mean, what is more stressful, to find the right sources, the right documents to use, or to write out what you have what you have to say yourself?
I would say to write.
Yeah.
Because writing is sometimes some days you write a lot and you think it's kind of okay and well written and a little bit interesting, and you like what you did, and sometimes like nothing's coming out and you spend a lot of time. And,
okay.
So my chance is that at the end, for the 2 last years of my PhD writing, I had a part-time job at university.
Yeah.
I had to teach just a little bit, like maybe 4 hours a week, or it's not a lot.
Yeah.
And I had an office, and I had office with a desk, with a computer, and white wall, like no distraction. And every day I go to the office and I wrote a few pages. And
very good.
Before I don't go out if I didn't finish writing a few pages. And so and then in a few months it was done.
Yeah, very nice. Okay.
That was my chance.
Yeah.
Like working at home is super difficult for me, maybe for most of the people. So just having this office and this part-time job, which give me enough money to live, that was perfect conditions.
Yeah, perfect.
Office with no distraction, like no phone, no TV, no food, no nothing.
Yeah. And philosophy. What was the main reason you started philosophy?
I asked myself this question many times, and I think many great philosophers also ask themselves these questions.
Yes.
So there are many things to say about this question. When I was young, when I was a child, I liked more mathematics, science, and then I changed completely. When I was in high school, I liked reading a lot. I like reading about literature, history, philosophy, politics. And when I went to university, I had desire for learning something, but I didn't know what to learn. I was a bit interested in everything. So I was thinking maybe I should study history.
Mm-hmm.
I like history a lot, or maybe literature, or maybe German. I wanted to learn some German.
And was this because your mother's native language was German?
Yeah.
Or just so you thought about, okay, I want to do this. I want to get to know this language.
Yeah.
Was this the main reason for you?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
And so, how, like in your childhood, did you use any German, or to which degree?
So when I was born, my mother couldn't speak French well.
Yeah.
So I know my mother tongue is German, kind of.
Wow. Okay.
But of course now my German is not very good, and my French
Yeah.
is much better, because quickly we switched to French, and most of the time we used French at home.
Yeah. So the funny thing is that when I'm talking to you, I normally use German.
Mm-hmm.
Or right now I'm also practicing my French, so I'm also using French with him. And using English is actually I really don't like to use English with you.
Okay.
But right now it's not a possibility. But it's something that can change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But actually I really always felt like, come on, I just want to speak German with you. Why not? Or now in this case, as I'm practicing my French at home, just speak your language, and not always like the English. And so that's also now a very different topic right now. I'm just jumping into something very different. But the whole thing about, I don't know, that's not very practicable always. But using the language that the other person is speaking as a native language, and not always English. It's something that's just much more interesting for me. But let's go back to So you just started, or was retaking German classes, or taking German classes just because because your background is also somehow connected. So
it's interesting because I think I always kind of liked Austria very much.
Mm-hmm.
I like Austria very much. I'm attracted to this country, to this culture. And my sister, maybe not so much, maybe less than me.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. My cousins in Austria, they have also a French mother and Austrian father.
And this is a coincidence?
Yes, it's a coincidence.
Wow, so funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a bit same. So my cousin, Jean-Paul, he's not really too much into France. He doesn't feel attracted to France.
Mm-hmm.
But his sister, Marie, she lives in France and she loves France so much. So it's a little bit mysterious, but
Okay.
It's
I mean, the historical connections between Austria-Hungary, Austria, or France are also very interesting, because they're somehow have always been somehow, some personalities or some people who were very deeply connected. But at the same time, and that's very funny, like when you see some politics or something, or the more recent politics, I don't know, the last 50 years, 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, there's also, some, I don't know, tension maybe, like Austria as a smaller country and France as a bigger country, and whatever. I'm just losing myself right now a little bit, but it's so interesting, because we're not Germany, we're not the whole big thing over there, and we're very visible all the time, but still, speaking German and having somehow a historic connection also to France. So, because
I don't know why I like Austria so much. I had only good memories, because I used to go there during vacations when I was a child. And vacation is always good memory, like you don't have to go to school. You just, like my Austrian grandmother, my oma was cooking like amazing cakes all the time, so it was perfect, like Wien under the snow in winter. This is so only good memories. It was very good.
I mean, just a question, is the winter in France like almost always a little bit warmer than in Austria?
Yeah, it's warmer. Yeah,
really?
Sure. Yeah, it's warmer. Yeah.
I mean, except of the mountains. of the mountainous areas. But basically, but why? I really don't understand.
Because it's closer to ocean.
Really?
So it's more, you know, like you have more like temperate climate, which is close to ocean. And if you go inside, it's more continental.
Yeah.
And then in winter will be colder.
Okay. I see.
So in France, no, we don't have so much. Like in Paris, in winter, it's just raining.
Really?
You don't have a lot of snow.
Wow.
You don't have. Maybe you have just a bit snow like this. But, but you don't have like it's very rare, like to be completely white. You know, covered with snow. It's very rare.
And you're from Paris, right? Is
no, I was born in Besançon.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I studied in Paris for a few years.
And Besançon is where in France?
Besançon is near Switzerland.
Okay.
It's like 1 hour driving from Switzerland.
I see. So, and how long did you live there, and when did you move to Paris?
I lived in Besançon for more than 18 years, maybe 19 years.
Okay.
Then I moved to Austria, Vienna. I studied philosophy in German.
I know.
And at that time, my German was much better than my English now.
Yeah.
At that time, like my German was really not so bad.
So you could read everything in the original language. A lot of.
Almost.
It
was not so easy, but anyway, I could pass.
Yeah. Okay. You could get a 4.
And so many professors in Vienna, they could speak French. So for all the oral exam, I started like using German, and they told me, okay, if you want, we can skip to French. Oh, perfect.
Yeah. And you know, that's also so funny because in Austria, normally or originally the second foreign language is French. So my second foreign language was also French. First English, then French, and it's somehow still very usual in school to just as the second language to take French. Yeah. So I mean, okay, I think it's also in many other European countries like this, but I'm not sure. But still, if you, I think many people can at least speak a little bit of French in Austria. I think it's still quite something you can use. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So what we were talking about, you were in. Oh, yeah. I just wanted to know Paris. Okay, how is living in Paris? We really want to know because Paris is like a very big name, and there are lots of myths about this, especially here in Taiwan. From my point of view, where France and Provence and Paris are very big names, and there are some pictures and so. I don't want to, and just don't get me wrong, I don't want to pull this neither in one extreme direction nor in the other extreme direction.
I was thinking of the same. Like I don't want to say it's great or it's hell. I want to say something like more subtle. Yeah.
Yes. So how is living in Paris? How is this kind of place?
So going to Paris for traveling or for taking pictures and living there is completely different. So usually, of course, like most of the Asian people, once in their life, they go to Paris and they take a picture, like of the Eiffel Tower and all the famous things. But living there is different. Paris is like most of the big cities nowadays. It's like New York or London, or it's very expensive, or Hong Kong. So first you need to have a lot of money if you want to live there.
Yes.
What I love in Paris is the movie theater.
Okay.
So I think it's the second city in the world which has the biggest number of movie theater.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly. Maybe in the center of Paris. Center of Paris is not big. You have like 400 or 450 movie theater.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I think the only city in the world which has the biggest amount of movie theater is a city in India. What's the city? Yeah, Bollywood.
It's really Bollywood.
Yeah,
right?
Bollywood is the first one, and second one is Paris. You have like small movie theater, many in Paris. The people working there, they know really well about cinema, about movies. When you go there, everybody is talking about cinema before, after the movie. I loved it. So Paris is it can be good. if you have a lot of money, if you can afford like to have a decent apartment, not too far from the center.
Yeah, I mean, how much do you need to have a decent life?
It's one of the most expensive cities in the world. So
right.
It's like New York or Hong Kong.
Yeah. I mean, in euros, how much maybe do you need?
I think for 1,000 euro, you have just a small room.
Yeah, and this is only rent.
Yeah.
Just rent for this kind of thing. So maybe 2,000 euros per month is as a minimum.
Yeah, I think for 2,000 euro you can have something.
I mean, just including everything from food to rent to traffic, everything. 2,000 euros. Is this?
It's not enough.
Not enough.
No.
Wow.
No,
Yeah, it's just really
it's not enough.
not enough. Wow.
Like even 3,000 euro, you can live with 3,000, but it's not. It's the minimum, I would say.
But normally, okay, if we take the salaries in our countries, or in Paris or in France, the salaries per month are not 3,000 euros per month. Right?
Yeah, that's why everybody's leaving. That's a problem.
So I mean, in Vienna, I mean that's always that's maybe already 5 to 8 years in the past. I was asking because I was also working some jobs in Austria, and one day I wanted to work. I just thought about it, didn't do it, but at Starbucks, and so I was asking them, okay, so hey, here I am. How much do I get? They said, okay, so when you work 40 hours, yeah, you get 1,200.
In the Starbucks?
Yeah, and that's just you get just net, yeah, and so okay, 40 hours and you cannot sit down basically. You're always standing, and so it's a very busy job. I didn't do it. But in Vienna, so when you get over 1,500 or 1,800, that's already quite okay. I think 1,500, if you get over that as netto, just that's the money you can keep. I think that's already it's not the best job, but I think many people in Vienna have this kind of money.
So what would you say to live in Vienna? How much you need?
I think because it really depends on if you have your own apartment or if you have to rent. But in Vienna, it's also getting very expensive right now in the last 10 years or something. I would say rent minimum 500, 600, and that's very small room. And maybe you take an apartment with another person or with other persons, then it's better. I think many people will do this, but many people are just also leaving the city core and they just go outside. And but it's getting really expensive right now in Vienna. But as far as I know, in comparison to other cities like Barcelona, for example, it's still not so extreme in Vienna. But let's see. Let's wait another 10 years and then maybe it's gonna be like in Barcelona or something, or Paris maybe. Yeah.
But I want to say something a little bit negative about Paris.
Yeah.
Paris, like many people complain about Paris because it's getting more and more expensive. Most of the people just leave Paris nowadays because it's getting expensive, very expensive.
And just because, sorry, you can talk immediately. Continue talking. Leaving to another city in France, or leaving to just other countries? Both. Okay.
It's expensive. It's getting more and more dangerous. Like this is a problem of France nowadays, getting more unsafe. Like every day there is like some crazy story we can see. It's getting more expensive. Also, it's getting dirty. It's getting, like many people say, not everywhere, but some part of Paris are super dirty. Like you have rats, like big rats. You have a lot of like that kind of problems. Okay. So I don't know why, but these days Paris is facing some problems, and all my Asian friends, they have been to Paris. They have been they had some problems because you have like so many thieves and pickpocket and stuff like this.
Yes.
So yes, Paris is wonderful for the architecture and the way of life, but nowadays Paris is also facing some problems. if I go back to Europe someday, I don't think I don't want to live in Paris. I think nowadays not so many people want to live in Paris.
Yeah.
They have to go there for their jobs sometimes, but if I go back to Europe, I prefer to live in Vienna, like.
Yeah, okay.
Clearly.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Vienna or maybe another city in France.
Yeah, okay. So, for example, which city in France?
Well, France is very diverse. You know, like Strasbourg is a bit like Germany. You know, like Toulouse is like close to Spain. You know, Nice is almost like an Italian city. You know, and Bretagne is a little bit like England, you know.
Okay.
So it really depends on
on
what you like.
Oh, okay.
Depends on each person. I don't think it's depends on the people. Yeah.
Okay. So you can imagine that you may maybe go to these cities if you have to decide between Paris and other cities in France. You would maybe go over there. Okay, I see. And I want to just a little bit go back to philosophy.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, because I didn't answer your question, like why I choose philosophy.
Yeah. So what was the reason?
So I one of the reasons is I couldn't make a choice. And I thought philosophy is about everything. Philosophy is about life, about existence, about being. So when you do philosophy, you don't become a specialist. You just think about and try to find something, to make research about everything. So for me, studying philosophy was a way not to make any choice.
Okay.
You know, like if I study history, you know, I will focus on this. Or if I study psychology, you know, maybe I will really like make research about the psyche, you know, like and you know, sociology about the society all the time. But if I do philosophy, I can write philosophy about literature. I can about everything. So it was a way not to choose, I think.
Okay, but I mean philosophy, because I was also thinking about when I was in university, should I take some philosophy class or something? And I didn't take any. But for me, philosophy, I mean, it's for me very hard to really grasp.
Yes.
Because basically you're just thinking about why is this, what the hell is going on. And so there are so many different stands or just standpoints how you can interpret why the fuck you are here, why the hell you are here. So and why I mean, we're coming into existence, or it seems like we're coming into existence and we're here and then we just leave somehow this existence or something like that, but we really don't know because nobody knows what is over there and what is over there. So for me it's very hard to really, I don't know, maybe because I'm just maybe not such a specialist, to really differentiate between these different interpretations, because some of them are just they look for me like almost the same, but okay, very clearly they're of course not all the same. It's of course that has nothing to do with it. For example, when you think about, I mean, there's like names like of isms, like all the different isms, like existentialism or postmodernism, whatever. I mean, this is. Let's start there. Okay, I ask you, what kind of parts or thoughts in philosophy do you find the most fascinating, or more fascinating, or I don't know? Is there something like that for you?
There is not only one. When I was I think one of the reasons why also I chose philosophy is when I was a teenager. You know, teenagers have different ideas. Like teenager can be very passionate with something different or something.
And I have another question. When you talk about this, a second question would be, and this is a very placative question, what can you do? How does it help in your life, philosophy?
Okay.
Just the more functional side of it, or something like that.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So when I was a teenager, I discovered Nietzsche. I was really passionate with Nietzsche. I liked his ideas, also the style, like his writing and everything. So I was really passionate with that, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to study philosophy. Is because of Nietzsche. I wanted to read Nietzsche more and know more about the whole philosophy. But Nietzsche is a philosopher which is a little bit different from other philosophers. He's a little bit unique.
In which respect?
Everything. Like for example, he's criticizing Plato all the time, which is not.
We should do
common.
another 5 2-hour videos about this.
I have
the next time we will take.
I have to make it shorter because it's an endless topic.
The next time you may be comfortable and have time.
Yes.
I will come another time, and then 2 hours just.
2,000 years of philosophy. It could be forever.
That's the next.
And so maybe now I can. The second question was.
More functional. But how was Nietzsche unique in his way? He was criticizing Plato and
because I think one reason he was talking about life.
Okay.
Which is a little bit unique. Like the Chinese philosophers, they talk a lot about life. The European philosophers, they don't talk a lot about life.
So what they are talking about?
They talk about truth.
Okay, truth and God or something like this.
Yeah, so it's very different.
Okay.
And what I liked, it's hard to talk about this in English, but I liked his style, his writing. And also I liked sometimes how can I say, the fact that he was criticizing many things.
Okay.
And I liked it a lot as a teenager.
Okay. Yeah, he was more rebellious maybe. Somehow.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's what you thought. Okay.
Now, now I read Nietzsche again every 5 years or every 10 years, and each time I see something completely different. So when I was a teenager, I thought like he was like a rebel or an anarchist, but in fact he's the opposite.
Okay.
Which is it's okay. It's like that. Like interesting philosophers, you always find something different. You always discover something new. And what is philosophy? That's philosophy is in Greek is philosophia. So philo means you like something. You like Sophia. What is Sophia? So Sophia is wisdom.
Wisdom, yes. Yeah.
But what is wisdom? And wisdom is like if you like wisdom, you're more like a Chinese philosopher. Chinese philosopher, they write about wisdom. But the European philosophy choose another way, and the European philosophy consider that Sophia, it's not wisdom, it's the truth, it's science. So many European philosophers, they are more like scientists. They consider philosophy is like a science. Like Kant, he said, for example, I'm doing the same thing as what did Galilei and Copernic.
Okay.
So, and for me, this type of philosophy, which is very similar with science, that was too far from life, from existence. That was I was more interested with philosophers like Nietzsche, or the philosophers who are like in between literature and philosophy, which is for me it's closer to life.
Okay. Wow.
And so if you consider that philosophy is more like a science, like research of the truth, or if you consider that philosophy is more like a wisdom, how to live your life, as you said, like we are here, we are living our life, but we don't know exactly what we are doing, why we are living, what is the best way to live. We don't know, we never know. So it's two different ways to consider philosophy. Both can be very interesting, but I'm more interested in something concrete and something related to life.
I can really feel, that there's so much to talk about. Hours and hours of very interesting stuff, and I'm really looking forward to this. Now I will ask you about the functional side, and this is a very strange word, I know. But how philosophy? How can it help, or as a tool? I know this is also a very strange word, but I maybe somehow on purpose say it like this.
As a tool for what?
For life.
For life, okay.
For I'm here now, I learn this, and in university we also learn medicine, and we learn foreign languages, and we learn technology, and now we can also learn philosophy. So, what to do with that?
You mean concretely for living your life? It's a hard question, but as I say, if you consider philosophy as a wisdom, or if you focus on this part of philosophy, then the question is how to live my life. Can I gain something from that if I read the Chinese philosophers, or if I need the old Greek philosopher? Can it helps me for my life? And yes, I think this is not the only goal of philosophy. Like the only purpose of philosophy is not only myself. It's not only how am I going to live my life.
Yes.
Philosophy is about everything.
Yeah.
It's just like the European philosophy. If I just use only one word, the European philosophy is the concept. It's building concept. So concept is more than only an idea. It's like building an idea, and this idea becomes general, and you can use it as a tool. All the famous philosophers, they created famous concepts.
So basically, a concept is a refined idea. A concept is something more a definition of something, a definition of an idea.
Everybody has an idea, but not everyone is a philosopher, and not everyone is building concepts. A concept is an idea, but this idea you will work on it.
Yeah.
And you will transform this idea into a tool.
Yeah.
And after, this tool can be used again and again.
Okay. You know, I was just thinking about something very funny. I was studying business administration for 1 year in Vienna, and it helped me in one respect greatly, and more than anything else, to be able. For example, I have a problem, I have an object, I have something I have to think about, and now, very systematically, technically, I try to look at this object from all angles, and really from from a checklist. Now I do this, and I just thought about this again because you were saying. Ideas, concepts, you can really learn, you can train your mind to think clearly. To think clearly, like, what is this not? What may be the consequence of this?
It's very powerful, right?
And so I think basically this is what philosophy can help you with.
Yeah, but it has pros and cons.
Okay.
Like the concept is something very powerful because, as you said, you can see the things clearly. But when you build concept, you build a tool which is very powerful, can help you to do many things. But you gain something, but on the other hand, you lose something. You lose the preciseness, you lose the details, you lose something. For example, Chinese philosophy, they don't use concept a lot. They're more into like the details or the how can I say in English? I don't know exactly the word, but the way they use the ideas is different.
The way they use ideas is different.
They will not build concepts. They will not have this idea that we have, that philosophy is kind of science. It's completely different.
Okay.
It's more wisdom. You know, it's a completely different point of view.
Now this is also very difficult, or for me at least. Can you explain what is the difference between wisdom and science or truth? Because
wisdom is for example, or the ethic is how to live your life.
How to live your life, okay.
You know, sometimes you don't know what to do with your life, you feel lost, and you go and you talk with your grandfather and your grandmother because they are old and because they lived many things.
They have wisdom.
And maybe you think they have wisdom because they're older than me, so maybe they have faced all those things. You know, this is wisdom. It's like it's so simple. It's just how to live your life.
Yeah. And they were talking about the other one is like truth or science or something.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, truth and science is it's something separate to life.
Okay.
You know, it's something. It can be sometimes can be very powerful and useful, but it's a little bit separate to life. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
But I'm still thinking about what you said before, like how can the philosophy useful for me, for my life,
And the next question would be job-like, in the job sphere, what kind of work would be more, probable to do with that kind? Yeah.
So I don't know how to say this in English. Maybe développement personnel in French.
Oh, that's a personal development. Just
personal development.
Persönliche Entwicklung. Yeah.
So personal development. This is philosophy. It's philosophy. It's a part of philosophy.
Exactly. Yeah.
But maybe 90% of the personal development. The difference with philosophy is like maybe 90% of the personal development is like, I would say it's low quality philosophy.
And why?
Because most of the people they are doing personal development and they want to make money with that and they have a lot of good ideas, but maybe they don't have enough culture. Like if you want to read the philosophy and to understand the European philosophy or the Chinese philosophy, it will take maybe 20 years of your life.
Yes.
And of course, a lot of people they just go on YouTube and talk about personal development, but they don't have. They can be very smart and they can have good ideas, but maybe they don't have just enough knowledge. And maybe most of the time they don't. This is the problem of philosophy.
Yeah.
It's most of the time they don't know that what they are saying.
Yes.
It has been said many times by very smart people even a long time ago. That's the problem. That's why when you study philosophy, in the beginning it's forbidden to say, I think that, it's forbidden. That's the first rule, when I arrived at university, you never say, I think that, because nobody cares about what you think.
Yes.
Since 3,000 people, since 3,000 years, people philosophers are writing about everything and almost everything has been said, in fact. So we have to be humble and, we don't invent many things, we don't invent new ideas every day. So that's why I think most of the time personal development is like a little bit low quality philosophy. And so philosophy could be like higher quality personal development.
Okay.
Yeah, this is if you want to use philosophy for your life, you have to consider that that philosophy is like a higher quality personal development. If you want to focus on this part of the philosophy, because sometimes I read like some papers about personal development, and they use concepts from the philosophy. They use ideas from Nietzsche, from Spinoza, and but maybe sometimes they don't have enough knowledge because even me, I don't know a lot. Like people who really know well about European philosophy or Chinese philosophy, not so many. It takes if you really want to know, it takes 20 or 30 years of work. It's a lot of it's a lot of work.
So what is so fascinating about the Chinese philosophy or the different schools? Can you explain a little bit?
Yes. So one thing is just two ideas are coming now.
Yes, great.
It's a completely different perspective.
Yeah.
It's a completely different perspective. Chinese philosophy is more about life. And European philosophy is about being, sein, like sein inside, all those things,
Okay.
So, or for example, you know, like of course, to be or not to be. You know, to be or not to be is impossible to translate into Chinese. There are many books and articles. You cannot, like to be, sein, you can't translate into Chinese. And the European and Western thinking is based on this word.
Okay.
It means like it's impossible to translate into Chinese the European thinking, and in the other direction is the same. You know, like you translate like the Chinese books in French or German, you lose
a lot. Yeah.
Really a lot, right?
Yeah.
So to be is impossible to translate into Chinese. So for example, to be or not to be, it's translated in many different ways, like yo, may yo, or shi bu shi is completely different, or how you say to exist is
存在
存在还是会灭 disappear, like exist or disappear.
Okay.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
You know, completely different. So it's a completely different perspective. Chinese philosophy is much more related to life. To what you say, like what is the philosophy bringing me to my life concretely?
Yeah.
Chinese philosophy is more in this direction.
And what do you find? So I mean, are there some other core points that you find very appealing or very interesting?
For example, our European way of thinking is received a very strong influence from the Greek philosophy. Especially Plato and Aristoteles, and also from Christianism. And Chinese philosophy is outside of this European world.
Yes.
And it's so interesting because the way of thinking is completely different. I remember, like, one of the first time I went to Japan, and I was talking to my friend, and I said something like, "This is my fault," or "This is not my fault. It's not my fault." And I said, "But why you say that? Who care about that? Like we don't say that. We never say that." And in fact, most of the thing we say is related to our culture and to this background. And the Chinese philosophy is completely different. So when we learn about Chinese philosophy, we can see the European philosophy with a perspective which is completely different.
Okay.
You know, like, and it's same about not only about philosophy, it's same about culture.
Yes.
You know, when we live in Asia, like since I live in Asia, I see France in a completely different perspective.
Okay.
You know, I think
Can you give? Is it maybe possible to give some concrete examples? How you?
Okay, for example, something very concrete. When I went to Asia, I went to Japan, Korea, China, Taiwan, and most of the people I meet, they say, "Oh, 法国浪漫."
Yeah.
French people are romantic.
Romantic, yeah.
I never thought about it in the beginning. I said, it's just a stereotype, you know. In the beginning, I said. In fact, I think it's not completely a stereotype. I think it's a bit true.
Yeah.
It's a bit true. So yeah, this is an example. Like, you know, I could find other example, but of course, like when you have some distance, you see yourself and your country and your culture completely different in a different way. You know. Yeah, you know, France, you know, like we have like demonstrations every week. We have a lot of vacation. It's you know, it's completely different with Asia. So in fact, everything is different with Asia.
Yeah.
But I feel more French since I live in Asia.
Okay.
I realize that many things I do, many things I think are really French.
Yeah.
And of course, when I was in France, I didn't realize that.
Okay. Now we make a very big jump to Wu Wei and Dao. And that's a very appealing thing because you stop thinking about this kind of, at this level. You just do it. I mean, when we say in English, or you can say in English, you think with your gut or something, but sometimes that's also not also the solution, because I can also theoretically think with my gut and think, oh, I really want to beat you. You know, it's that's not the thing. But like, and to train this every day. Just okay, I'm here and now. Where will I go with all this? And so that for me is much more applicable to my life than it just helped me. And this is also some kind of Eastern philosophy.
Yeah.
Taoism. That's what I wanted to say.
Is philosophy.
That's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
So you feel more attracted to Chinese philosophy than European philosophy.
And you know, I wouldn't say, because I don't really understand European philosophy. I mean, I know the names of those philosophers, Aristotle and Plato and so on, but I never dug really deep into it. But just by personal experience, personal curiosity, and just by getting more knowledge, also by other people I meet and know, I just think that this kind of trying to let it flow and to train this every day is much more helpful, because you also you lose. It's like, you know, in German the horse has this like before its head, and we call it Scheuklappen. I don't know how to say it in English, but when you say, oh, I want to open my Scheuklappen, I want to open it. No. It's about they just don't exist. So it's about you not only tell yourself, oh, I want to be more open, but you also tell yourself, why the heck should I coerce myself to be so open? Like it just doesn't exist. So because sometimes we try to better ourselves and we try to do something better and to get progress or something, and then we think, oh, it should be the progress way. It should be into this direction, because that's what I define as progress. That's what it's better. And but we don't feel this way, and so we should go back to what we actually feel under this kind of thing, and so that has also much to do with mental santé. How to say it?
Health?
Yeah, thank you.
Health.
Now my French is better because I was
santé mentale.
Yes.
But it's
and it has all to do with that, because so many huge decisions that maybe mark our lives 10 years, 20 years are based on this, or just, and we can resolve lots of things by just training that kind of not so fearful and letting go, but at the same time you don't overdo it, and you.
But you gave a very good example about how philosophy can be useful in your concrete life. This is an example. In the Taoism, the Wu Wei.
The Taoism, the Wu Wei, yeah.
The Wei. This is a very good example of how philosophy can be useful.
Yeah.
Like, you can find many ideas like this that are very, very useful in the concrete life.
Yeah.
And about what you said before is like very interesting and at the same time very complicated. Like when sometimes people say, yeah, here we live like this, here we do this way, like a little bit. You say like a bit like a closed mind, something like this. But at the same time, I think in the Middle Age, people, they live in a very small world, like people live in their village.
Yes.
And sometimes they walk 20 kilometers to go to on the other side of the valley, or and it's another world already. It's already very far.
And that's very important to note. Yes. I know.
Yes, and of course, like since the Renaissance, the world is becoming not bigger because it's the same world, but it's becoming smaller. In the opposite,
it's becoming smaller.
It's becoming smaller.
Yes.
And it's interesting, like even when I go to Neulenbach in Austria, sometimes you just drive the car and we go to a very small village in the mountain, and sometimes you do 10 kilometers, you just go on the other side. Mm-hmm. And the people speak a little bit differently.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Only 10 kilometers, it's like, it's another dialect. Like, here we don't speak like them,
Yes.
So this is a bit like, and sometimes for us, because we're so used to travel, to go to different countries and to try to adapt to very different cultures, you know. For us, it's like sometimes we think, oh my God, they should be more flexible, they should be more open. Sometimes we think this way because, you know, like we have lived in different countries and we faced that before, like we had to adapt to very different. But at the same time, I think we did a choice, you know, we became like travelers, you know, we did a choice, like to learn other languages, to go to other countries, to learn other cultures. It's a choice we did. Not everyone has to do this choice, and it's like living abroad, going far, and discovering new cultures. It's interesting. Sometimes it's also difficult, tiring, painful. Sometimes you have a cultural shock. When I was living in Korea, I had many good friends, but sometimes the way of thinking is so different. It was sometimes hard for me to deal with that. And well, some people, they want to have a more simple life. They want to have like landmarks and, you know, like stability. And I think, I understand your point of view because I have the same point of view, but I think sometimes we should just accept it and they have the right to live this way if they want. Not everybody has to be a nomad, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Some people, they want, I have friends in France, they live, they spend all their life in the same place. When they go to the next village, it's like an adventure for them, you know, but I think maybe a life full of nomad is maybe not, I don't know if, maybe it's not good, I don't know. And nowadays we tend to think, for example, to say like being open is good and being closed is bad. I think it's...
No, that's not true.
I think it's not true. I think sometimes we're open, sometimes we're closed, and sometimes there are some moments it's better to be open, sometimes it's better to be closed.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't say like something too general about it, and
yes. I really also found this that openness is not always good. Openness is also, because if you open yourself up all the time, you somehow lose yourself, you lose stability. Sometimes you need more stability and you give it away. So that's, I think lots of these concepts are now misunderstood by many of us. Like openness, closeness, or for example another one, so interesting. Creativity is not always a plus.
Yes, exactly.
Creativity is not always good, because if you are creative and you need this kind of thing to make things or to express yourself, you cannot use creativity all the time. You also need what is the opposite of creativity? I don't know. Stability or
a frame.
Frame.
Yeah.
It's so important to get frame. For example, when I say when I want to change habit, I need frame.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like being creative all the time would be chaotic.
Yes.
It would be chaotic, you know, like
And so so the list goes on and on. So we have now some words in our language or in our languages that are very good and nice and that are very positive, and we really like to use them because it's it sounds good, but actually we ignore the reality.
I think this is something we can learn from the Chinese philosophy. Things are never good or bad, you know.
Yeah.
Like there is a French philosopher, François Julien. He said like in the European philosophy.
Once again, his name?
François Julien.
Okay, François Julien. Okay.
He's like a specialist of Chinese philosophy and also Greek philosophy.
Okay.
So he's like trying to create a dialogue between European philosophy and Chinese philosophy. That's what he's doing all the time.
Okay.
And he said like in the European thinking, it's a bit like science, you know, has to be precise, so it's black or white. And in the Chinese philosophy, everything is gray. Everything is gray, you know. So it's like when we think in a mathematic way, when we say this is good, this is bad, when we want to make the things too clear, it can be dangerous. It can be, for example, if we say it's good to be open, it's bad to be closed. Well, Asia show us the opposite, because Asian country, if you compare with our countries, with our culture, like Europe invented like the universalism, in Asia is completely different. If we compare, like from a European point of view, Asian countries, they are closed. Asian countries are closed. They care about their tradition, they care about their country, they don't want to have immigration. It's a completely different. It's Asian country a little bit closed if we compare with European countries. But is it bad? It's not, right? Like, it's just different, and at the same time, it's
different, yeah. It's just different.
And at the same time, it's also, I like Taiwan with all the temples everywhere. Sometimes it's good, like, not to do a revolution every 20 years and destroy everything. It's good also, right?
It's also good, yeah.
Like, Taiwan is full of colors and temples and traditions and religions, and I like it.
Yes.
I like it.
Yes.
Even Confucianism, it's like Westerners, they tend to criticize Confucianism a lot because, of course, Confucianism like put a lot of pressure on Asian people. Like you have to care a lot about everyone, and it's a lot of pressure. But
maybe just the categorization of people. Like I put you here, and I put you here, and you here, and we basically never get out of it. That's somehow the point that many people criticize or something.
Exactly, yeah. But I agree with what you say. I think the problem in Europe is we tend to say or to think, okay, for example, this is good, this is bad, like being open is good, or, and it's this way of thinking is not flexible enough.
Okay.
I think it's a big problem.
Yeah, flexibility, another thing. I don't know why, but I think it's also so much depends on your personal experience when you're in a country, and because Taiwanese people told me something about Austria, and I thought, oh no, really? But I think it's the other way around. It's in Taiwan more like this.
Yeah, but
and it's so funny. Yeah. For example, punctuality. Who is more punctual? And they are not punctual, and they are. So and I thought also a lot about these characteristics of people in that country or in another country, and then I thought, what really? For example, the body, if you can touch the body of other people, this kind of thing. And then a Taiwanese person told me when she was in, I think it was Germany or something like this, and now I have to think the right way how it was. It was like she thinks that in Germany they really I start with my experience and then I can tell hers. Like here the people are not so close with their bodies. They try to have a distance.
Of course.
And this Taiwanese person was saying the opposite. She was thinking, no, why? Of course not. She was thinking that in Western countries we really tend to keep the distance and to not really touch each other and so on. And she was thinking, and I was thinking, no. From my perspective, in Europe we can. In Vienna we are very famous for giving the kisses, like in France, and nobody in Germany does that. Very famous for that. It's like the rule in Vienna. If you meet a girl, friend girl, just not for romance, just so the first time you shake hands, and the second time, of course, you start to kiss. That's our rule in Vienna. So I don't know if you know this rule, so I always thought that, of course, compared to Taiwan, we are very touchy.
This is the problem. Talking about culture is very dangerous because people tend to make some generalization.
That's it.
Or to say, okay, this is like this is like that, this is a disaster. Like my students, many times they ask me, "Oh, Rémy, you're French, so for breakfast you eat tartine. You know, tartine is like bread." And I say, "No, I don't eat tartine for breakfast." No, but I read that and I'm very annoyed. No, I read that in a book. No, come on, you're French, so you eat.
Yeah.
I say in France, like everyone is different. Everybody eats something different. So your generalization is a disaster. And this is a big problem because when we teach languages, sometimes we have some classes or lectures about culture, and usually it's not done in a good way. Usually it's full of generalization and things like this. And I remember when I was a child at school, the school found a British assistant. So they sent us to the class so we could see how I look like a British guy. And he arrived and everybody was so excited, and he started to introduce himself, and he was a big fan of football and Manchester United, and everybody was disappointed. Oh, I like football is not interesting. And I remember there's a girl saying, yeah, English people, they like football. You know, like, so there was just one guy and the whole country was already, the result of a generalization.
Yes.
So no, we don't represent our country, we don't represent our culture. I always say, like, I'm myself. Maybe other French are different.
What should we do now with this kind of cultural impressions?
We have to go deep in.
For example, the German people were punctual, or the Austrian people, I don't know. I really don't know. Some people say in Vienna we tend to complain easily, or something like that, or in Taiwan, I don't know. Let's say some cliché about Taiwan, and just when you have this kind of things, what to do with it? Because somehow it seems that there are many people, or some people who live like this, or who have this kind of tendency. Like, what to do with these tendencies that some people talk about?
Yeah, we should let them talk. I think there are two ways.
But how much truth may be in there or not?
Well, I think there is, like, this is another complicated questions, because for many years we say, like, stereotypes are bad, but usually stereotypes, they contain a part of truth, because they don't come from nowhere, like if we say, like, if I say generally speaking, German people are more punctual than Spanish people, I think it's true. It doesn't mean that every German is punctual and every Spanish will be always late, but I think if we want to make a very wide generalization, I think it's a little bit true. But this is also a stereotype, of course, and you don't define anything when you say that, So I think it's very complicated, because we should be very careful with stereotypes, but at the same time, stereotypes usually they have one part, but only one part of truth. They don't come from nowhere, they come from somewhere. Yes. This is the problem. But how to think and how to talk about cultures, I think there is two ways. One is the way is very shallow, and one way is a little bit more deep and need more work.
For example?
The shallow way is, I think that's what I never do it in my class. The shallow way is to talk about the codes. Codes. For example...
Cultural codes.
Yeah, cultural codes. I think this is shallow. This is not interesting. For example, like you have some people, like they're paid for doing research, and they say, for example, okay, in Germany we eat at very early, like 5 or 6 p.m. and in Spain we eat at 10 p.m. This is cold. It's not interesting. Like everybody know that. Like in Asia we use chopsticks, or in France we kiss on the cheek to say hello. This is codes.
Yes.
But you don't say anything about the culture when you do that.
Yeah.
And the problem is usually when we teach intercultural, we don't talk about culture. We talk about codes. And this is very shallow, and it's not interesting. It is just generalization. For example, okay, in France we kiss on the cheeks to say hello, and maybe in Taiwan we do in a different way. Like this.
We just wink. or something?
So this is, or French people, they eat tartine for breakfast, or like, I don't know, or if in Asia you don't put your chopsticks like this in the rice. This is just code. It's good to know, but it's not very interesting.
Yeah, very quickly it gets just boring, and
it's boring, and it can be helpful maybe to know, but you can learn it very quickly. It's not about culture, it's just about code, so we have to distinguish the culture and the code. Code is very shallow and it's not very interesting to me.
So
if you want to know the culture, it's like books, it's like you have to learn. If you want to know something about China, you have to learn like the Chinese philosophers, like it's a lot of work. You have to learn books about Buddhism, about Taoism, about Confucianism, and of course it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So if you want to go deep,
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and if you want to go shallow, you can say, okay, like I've been to Taiwan, and the way they say hello and goodbye is different, and like but it's not so interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's something that just occurred to me. Okay. If you want to, you have to do the work to get deeper and to be able to talk about more stuff.
Yeah, and
that's just per definition not easy. So not everyone all the time can do this.
And the culture is something not visible. Like what you see immediately is the codes. Like they don't.
Yeah.
In my country or in my village we don't do like this.
Yeah.
You see it immediately. But this is just the codes. You don't see all the invisible parts.
Yeah.
So to make a big difference between the codes and the culture, I think it's the basic. When you start to talk about the culture in your class, yes.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I think, let's see. We were talking about 1 hour and almost 13 minutes.
Okay.
That's a very nice video. I think the battery is also, it's still here. Very nice. And I think I will, for now, make a cut here.
Okay.
And then maybe next time in French or in English we will continue.
Yes.
So,
unfortunately, I think I would like to try in German, but I think
maybe
too limited.
Yeah. Don't force yourself. Maybe some time in your life it will happen. But I'm really looking forward for the next episodes. I think there's so much. I really want to continue.
We can do that for years,
I think we can do. Yeah. So thank you very much. I will put here a stop and thank you.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome.